Today on the DML News Podcast, Pride Month comes to an end, thank goodness, but not before little kids are exposed to, well, let's just say hot dogs and beans. Also, today, Trump faces a big decision with the Supreme Court. Nancy Pelosi says he's got dementia. Going over to Biden, we've got a story out of Bill O'Reilly, countered by a story out of the New York Times. Is he running? Is he not running? An email, everything you want to know about Biden. Plus, there's a dangerous border gang, and we ran a poll to see who Democrats will pick for the running replacement of Biden, because we know he ain't making it to the finish line. So hold on. We got a good program today, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny, the oldest one. And then across for us is Ryan on the controls, the younger one. We have a great show for you today. We're going to jump into a couple things before we start to it. Number one, DMLCBD.com/BOGO. The buy one, get one free. We extended it today. We never end a BOGO on a Sunday. Today is the last day. Let me give you an example of how freaking powerful DML CBD is. I never, ever, knock on wood, get sick. Ever. But we are so low on inventory on one of the products that I take that I stopped taking it a week ago because I ran out. And my daughter Ashley said, Dad, please don't take anything from inventory because I'm not sure if we're going to have enough to fill orders. So I have been without my CBD for a week, and I am here today with my boys. I almost didn't come in. I feel miserable, sick, like I'm having like a summer cold, almost like going into the flu. And I know it's because I stopped taking my CBD. So we have a bunch of products in there. I suggest you go in DMLCBD.com/BOGO to buy one, get one free. It's pretty much going to be, I think, the last one of the year, or at least until we see what happens with the election, because Bidenomics is killing me. So that said, get in there, DMLCBD.com/BOGO. Also, July, we have the special running for $18 for the entire year. If you want to become a member of Team DML, you get to see this podcast every single day. We only put it up on YouTube and Facebook once in a while just for promotional purposes like today. So if you want to become a member, you get ad-free news on the DML News app. You get the live chat with thousands of others of people who are conservative and think just like you do and I do. Like I said, you get to see every single program we have. We do podcasts all throughout the week, every single day, exception of Sundays. And it would just be a really great thing to help us stay in business because we no longer do the ads thing. So there you go. And then, of course, the Great American Newsletter. Go to greatamericannewsletter.com to sign up for my daily newsletter every single day, which gets almost triple the open rate. People just love our newsletter. So with that said, Dennis, let's go into a reality for a second. When I grew up, there was a sentiment, an unwritten rule: women and children first. Everything in this country was about protecting women and children. Now it's illegal aliens, Ukrainians, the trans community, anybody who celebrates Pride Month, they're first. Everybody else is second. And you know, there is a certain behavior one should conduct themselves with, not only for the sake of their own self-respect, but respect for other people when it comes to sexuality, right? And as I wrote today in the newsletter, I mean, if the whole family were at an airport and you guys were saying goodbye to me, I was going to do one of my movies. I was going to be gone for a month and a half. I give each one of you a hug, and then I have your mom. And I give your mom maybe a little longer kiss than a peck, right? But not a big one, just like, maybe a couple of seconds. A hug, whatever it may be. You're seeing it. Other people in public are seeing it. It's okay. It's a little bit more affection than I may give out usually, but it's a saying goodbye. What we don't do is we don't start swapping spit and pulling our clothes off and celebrating the fact that we're married and a family, right? We don't have the family day parade where the Lynches are walking down the street naked. Look at us. But for some unknown reason, not only do we have to take an entire month to celebrate gay people, lesbian people, trans people, drag queens, but we are now allowing these people to go 100% naked in front of children in the street. I'm not going to play the videos here because if I did, they'd take them down on YouTube. They'd take them down on Facebook. But you just need to imagine this. You got a series of men, many of them, grotesque looking in general, hairy, the whole 9 yards. They got their complete hot dogs and beans exposed to the world. And they're going right along the curb and they're bouncing around trying to make everything jiggle with little kids in strollers. I don't know who to get more pissed off at. I don't know to get more pissed off at the people doing it, these freaks, the parents who are keeping the kids sitting there in the strollers where the kids have no other choice but to look at what's in front of them, or the sheriffs, cops, mayors, governors, and city councils who allow this shit to go on and just pretend as if there's nothing there. There was a pride parade in Seattle yesterday, which was mind-boggling. I watched the videos. I was nauseous, mind-boggling. One off? No. You go to San Francisco. A reporter goes up to two cops and says, how is it legal for these people to be naked in front of these children, some of them preschoolers? Ryan, play the video. We'll come back.
One question for you guys. I'm a news reporter. Okay. So obviously there's a lot of nudity around here, men, women, transsexual stuff going on. And there's kids, wandering around the event. I'm not sure on San Francisco's laws or California's laws. Is it legal for nudity to be presented in front of kids?
Nudity is legal, yeah, within certain boundaries.
But then what are the boundaries? Do you know?
Coupled with a lewd act. Yeah, anything coupled with a lewd act or anything being done for sexual gratification that involves other people. Basically.
Okay, but this event wouldn't be considered for sexual gratification.
No, if they're walking around and it's out, that's right. That'd be different than if they're masturbating or if they're forcing, like flashing people, right? Like trying to get their attention flashing. But no,
even with kids, it's fine to be nude as long as there's no masturbation or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Tim, before I let you jump in, because you haven't even been able to say the word yet, because I'm so fired up already. So when I hear that cop say, hey, listen, it's completely legal to do, they're not doing anything lewd like masturbating in the middle of the street. Does this mean that if 50 guys wanted to get naked and go in the street in front of a public school where little kids are outside at recess, 4-year-old preschoolers, kindergartners, that they could all do it? They could all stand there in front of a school naked just for as long as they don't masturbate. Where have we gone? Where are we?
That was going to be my point. I mean, it's 2024, right? 1984. I think you would be 14, 15. If you were at
I was just entering high school.
If you were at a parade and you just saw a naked man walking around, wouldn't you expect a cop to be just, and I'm not saying the lewd stuff. I mean, literally just naked still. Wouldn't you expect a cop on your block to fully tackle and arrest the guy?
Dennis, I have the sheriff on speed dial. Okay, he's a friend of mine. If there was a naked man or a naked woman in the street in front of my house, simply just walking their dog, I would call the sheriff in 2 seconds and say, Eric, I got some naked freak outside my house. That naked freak would have been taken in. I don't know what they charge him on, probably lewd behavior or, whatever it is. I don't know what the code is. But I would expect, I'll take it a step further. If your mother and I were in the street dancing naked, celebrating our anniversary, and my kids and your kids, if you had kids, grandkids, are sitting at the curb, I would expect every neighbor to call me, have the cops come. And if we weren't arrested, I would think at a minimum that Child Protective Services were coming to my house and your house and maybe taking away the kids.
Well, maybe in Florida, but imagine if you were still in Long Island, New York, today. Do you think if that were to be the case, some naked guy out in the street in front of our house and you called the cops, do you think there would be anything even done about it?
I don't think they show up.
Yeah.
I don't think they show up because liberal havens have become so unbelievably out of control that, like I said, the old adage of women and children first, America first, it's all gone, man.
Well, I think that just shows how much the culture has been twisted and infused, especially in younger parents' brains, because, I think back in your time, I mean, I still feel that way. I know Ryan would too, but it's crazy to think that people we might know or people who know of people would take their kid to a parade during your time. If there was a naked man out, the parent would go, if you're watching, over the kid's eyes and be like, cop, hello. Now it's wave to him. And that just like is so twisted to think that that's what is happening now.
I also wrote about this in the newsletter. The newsletter was a little long today. In fact, there were 2 typos in it, and I apologize for it because it was just so long. I you check and you check and you check. But people got the point. And one of the things I wrote is I said, look, I'm not a prude. I'm not a prude by any means. I'm not this person who walks around with this cross and says, oh my God, your skirt's too high up, little girl. If we were watching a family movie, you could attest to this. If we're watching a family movie and there's a naked scene, a love scene, what do? I put the thing on mute. I tell you to close your eyes. I fast forward it. I get through it, and boom, that's it. I don't turn the movie off and say, I'm never watching another Steven Spielberg movie again. We don't get like that. We're not prudes. But there is a level of dignity that one must keep in order for themselves and for society to be able to operate reasonably. And when you're taking little children and wrapping them in pride flags and then throwing them in front of some guy's hot dog, it is just absolutely wrong. It is insane. It is what we have tried to protect our children from ever and ever. And I don't know, I begged the question in the newsletter, when the hell did our country flip the script where all of a sudden it was a right for some older 30, 40, 50-year-old guy to rip his drawers down and stand in front of a little girl who's 6 years old? When did that become permissible? When did that become the norm? Who's the one? Was it Obama who flipped the script and said, let's go. Let's jam this stuff down these kids' faces? Who did that?
It just proves the slippery slope theory, because when it first became, okay, gay marriage, okay, that's fine, but let's not take it to a crazy step. And it's like, oh, it would never be taken to a crazy step. And we have watched year after year after year the craziest of steps. And it's to a point where I think when most people saw that rainbow flag, it was kind of like an eye roll. And, it's like, oh, my God, there it is again. Yeah. Now it's become, oh, my God, it's cultish. Like it's everywhere. I was even reading a interesting Twitter thread about Greenport, New York, which was north of the Hamptons. How, it's a beautiful town by all metrics and means. It should be bustling during the summer. And his theory was that, the reason he didn't see a lot of people out is because every corner, and I saw the pictures, I wish I had them, every corner there's a pride flag with the updated, with the trans and the Black Lives Matter triangle figure into it now. And it is cultish, because what does it really represent? America's flag represents our country, our nationalism, our pride. That flag represents intolerance to being a normal straight person, because if you are, it's like, you can't be accepted now. Right. It's become a flag of revulsion. Like when I see it, I get like, almost sick to my stomach. Whereas before it was just like, doesn't represent me, but whatever, you want to fly it. But now you're going to shove it in my face at every corner. Yeah. Or if I refuse to acknowledge it, you're going to, get on me about it. It's like,
that you're homophobic or something, or transphobic. Yeah. Key West, Florida has always been notorious for being a big hotspot for gay, right? Yes. For gay people. Mm-hmm. And I love Key West. Key West is one of my favorite places in the United States. And when you go to Key West, there's one corner that is specifically outlined for gays. There's rainbow painted on the street. There's trans people and drag queens out in the street. And I actually get a kick out of it because it's done in such a way to where it's actually fun, And the rest of the street on Duval Street is just normal. And you know what? You want to know why that is? Because they make so much money on Duval Street in Key West that they know if they turn that into an entire gay mecca, people like me don't come. So if you have it there, I'm not homophobic. I don't care. If you're a guy and you want to sleep in a bed with a guy, good for you. You're a girl, you want to sleep in a bed with a girl, good for you. I care less what you do. I want you to be happy. If you're a good American, go for it. Just don't shove it down my throat in the same way that I'm not going to sit there and do some public display of affection with my wife where I'm grabbing her ass and rubbing her up. I'm just not going to do it. And for some reason, look, even if you had a gay pride parade, you want to have a parade, have a parade. But why do you have to do it naked? What does naked do to represent gay? In fact, as far as I'm concerned, and I know a lot of gay people agree with me on this, the way that they do that in the streets is horrifying for the gay people who don't agree with that sort of thing. Because what happens is it becomes guilty by association. And so, some gay, I know a couple of gay guys, a gay guy's going to sit there. I've never seen him take his clothes off before. So they're going to sit there and they look at this and say, that doesn't represent me, man. That doesn't represent me. But that's becoming the national representation for what it is to be gay and lesbian. Right. And it's a very dangerous precedent set. Very dangerous. Having these little kids walking around with gay flags and being dragged out in the middle of the street with drag queens. We got books in school that are emphasizing gay anal sex. What the hell is going on? This country can't get out of its own way. We can't spell. We can't do math. We don't know science. We're importing everything from everywhere else, including labors and products, because we can't do anything. And we're teaching our kids about the flag, the rainbow. Rainbows used to be something that I was like, oh, wow, look at the rainbow. To your point, I see a rainbow now. I'm like, oh, my God. Do we gotta? It's such a shame to where things have gone. It's so out of control. The fact that we're exposing our children like this, it's got to be by design.
Totally. There's that video of Pete Buttigieg's husband at that gay camp having the kids pledge allegiance to the rainbow flag. Like, that's what it's become about.
That's wrong. That like you said, Dennis, it's cultish. That's wrong. I can't believe more people aren't standing up for this. I champion for Trump on a daily basis. I do. And I hope he wins the election. I have my fears about it, obviously, because I don't trust the Democrats. And we're going to get into that now. But I sit there and I say to myself, when he has his list, man, right? I'm a list guy, right? I got my list all the time, right? If I'm Trump and I'm making a list on what it is that I'm going to tackle when I get into office that week one, protecting our children from this crazy crap has got to be at the top of the list. If it's not, I am going to be highly disappointed in that man. Last word on this to you, and we move on to something with Trump.
Right. I would just say, I think, to your point, more people should be outraged, speak more against it. I think the best group to do so, you already mentioned it, are those that are LGB, lesbian, gay, and bisexual people, to say this doesn't represent me. This has gotten completely out of hand. Because there was a point where those were just the three letters, and then the T was added, the Q was added, and it just keeps going and going.
Plus,
and the plus and two-spirit, and I just can't even. I think there's 29 genders recognized by the state of New York as of right now. So
29 genders.
Yeah, I think they may have added it, but I remember reading it's out of control. It's cultish, and to your overall point, the best way to speak out about it is people who don't want to be grouped into it need to start speaking out about it.
Well, speaking of San Francisco and people who just don't have their minds about them anymore, Nancy Pelosi made an appearance on CNN yesterday, and the video went completely viral. First of all, there's a mixture of her appearance that would make you lead to believe that she had a couple of cosmopolitans before she got on air. Number two, makes you think that she's drinking the same Cosmos, or at least the same water that Joe Biden's doing, because she sounded a little raspy. She looked a little incoherent. And then the third part is she just like Joe, lies and comes up with absolutely insane statements that the media allows her to go through. She actually said that Trump has dementia because he lies and he gets his facts screwed up. Ryan, let's just play. It's a 7-minute interview. We're not going to do that. We'll just play the 1 minute of Nancy saying that Trump has dementia. Take a listen.
Is there any part of you that believes that President Biden should step aside?
I want you to know I came home to California, South and North, and people are for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They have some judgment about a person who sat on that, stood on that stage and lied. If you're just talking about the debate, I'm respectful of some of the opinions that people have, but I also am respectful of the grassroots. My people are very much Biden, Kamala Harris, and this is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together. Not only that he just lies, he doesn't even know the truth. So if we're just talking about mental acuity, let's be fair about it.
Your take, Dennis.
Nancy Pelosi is a female reflection of Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
She realizes that if we head into the territory of that man being removed and someone else getting put in that's younger and articulate, she wouldn't be far behind, because she realizes she falls in the camp, as you see through that video, of I'm really old. I've been in power for a very long time, and it's starting to show that I can't speak or walk. And I've seen it too, where even when she's walking around, it's not like she's got a pep to her step. So, with her, I think she realizes I got to go full Joe Biden, because if they start taking him out, it starts setting the precedent of, if you're really that old, you really can't be serving. And, she is someone who, like Jill and Joe, her and Paul love to cling to power. They love to be in on the stock trades. They love to be in on the fact that she's the queen of California. So for her, she's got to go all in on, she's always hated Trump. She's got to go all in on, he's the one who's crazy, not Joe Biden, because as soon as they make that switch with him, which I know we're going to be talking about that, she's not too far behind in the, all right, maybe term limits should be a thing.
Well, look, the other thing, and this is not, we have, my audience is by and large 50 and over. And I know I have that part of my audience who's in their 70s, 80s, and probably a couple people in their 90s as well. No disrespect to anybody elderly right now, but and I know, when you start to become an older person, you see an older person, there's the little tremble, there's the shake, when they're talking, there's the little shake. When you watch Nancy Pelosi, she is she looks like somebody shaking her like a salt and pepper shaker. She is ready for retirement about 10 years ago. She has got to end her career.
Yeah, I think with most people who start bridging over the 65 gap, especially when it comes to the world of running DC, I think they're just, and this is more of me in my opinion, I think they're just better suited for an advisory role. Because to be put into an elected position and handling the day-to-day and then the long term, as you can kind of see, presidency ages you out. You've seen it with every president that's been in there.
Absolutely.
And clearly with Joe Biden, despite the fact that, even where he lies personally, when it comes to the age aspect, he's beyond aged out. So, you want to have someone in your cabinet who, already served and he's out and he could be advisory because he comes in, fantastic. But, I think we got to step away from this age or this era of you can be 82 and still, be in an elected position. It's just a little, it's a little concerning, unless, you have your wits and wherewithal about you, such as, Trump. Trump is not showing any signs to the degree that someone like Biden or Nancy Pelosi is showing.
With that being said, why don't we just go right into that? We'll save the Supreme Court for the end, but let's go into Biden. Biden had one hell of a weekend, man. It was a wildly dangerous ride. And he's got, the sharks are lining up all around him. And there was yesterday more confusion about what's going on with him and his pursuit of the re-election process. I'm talking about dropping out or staying in. So yesterday, Bill O'Reilly, the former star at Fox News, who I think is a complete idiot. All right, I've dealt with him before. He is pompous. He is just a complete idiot.
We met him the one time, me and you, when we went for him and Dennis Miller. Remember?
Yes.
I remember saying, I was like, he's not the friendliest of guys.
No, he's not. That's right. I took Dennis for his birthday. I took him to a Bill O'Reilly event with Dennis Miller, and I paid for VIP where we'd go back. And I think that was before I was ever on a show.
Yeah.
But and then I had been on a show a bunch of times. He and I once went like arguing with each other when the cameras were off, and he took one of my DVDs and threw it at me. And I had to confine my temper, contain it, because if I was in any other situation, I would have thrown the guy to the ground. But he's a complete ass. It's a story for my book. All right? But anyway, let me give you the tweet that he puts out, and just the certainty in this tweet. All right, this isn't speculation. This is hard hitting. He puts, "Here's a Biden update from Bill O'Reilly's news headquarters. The decision has been made that the president will quit the campaign. 2 reasons. Democrat internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate, and fundraising is drying up. So it's over for Joe, but the White House doesn't know or when to make the announcement. Stay close. And then he put out another tweet saying that he was the first one who was on the story. Well, this lights up Twitter. It goes on fire, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, wow, how does O'Reilly never names the source? But one must keep in mind that Biden went to Camp David on Sunday, but on Saturday, he was in the Hamptons, right? Where we used to live. Bill O'Reilly lives there too. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, O'Reilly must have talked to somebody who was with him on Saturday, and then it's getting the word on Sunday and telling O'Reilly whatever it may be, and here we go. So I'm thinking there's got to be some credible inside information on this. Later in the day, the New York Times puts out an article. It almost felt as if it was a counter article to what it is O'Reilly posted out and had the world on fire with, stating the fact that the Biden family all met together in Camp David on Sunday, and that the family was completely 100% pushing Joe to stay in the race with nobody more bold than Hunter Biden. You can imagine why Hunter wants him to stay in the race, because he's going to need daddy to get rid of his sentencing, right? So, but the thought to me is somebody from the White House saw O'Reilly's tweet and called a friend at the New York Times, because that's what the New York Times and the left is at this point. It's a propaganda machine for the left, whoever's in the White House, said, kill this story. Kill it right away. So put out that the family wants him safe, because how else would the New York Times know what the family said to Joe Biden at Camp David?
I was going to say, because he was with a lot of his family there, and it seems from what I read unanimously, Jill too. I mean, talk about someone who's a power-hungry wife. All across the board said they're still going all in on Joe. So I know we ran a poll asking people who they thought would replace Biden, as the Democrat nominee. I put a few obvious answers in there. And in terms of I'll go with the top 4 here before it became other, meaning write a comment. The leading one was Michelle Obama, followed by Gavin Newsom, then followed by Kamala Harris, and then Hillary Clinton.
So those are the 4 names that people who are right-leaning, because that's who's listening to us and reading us, except for the few Democrats who always want to come after me. But the sentiment is that this is the person that the Democrat will go with, that want to go with.
Most likely. Yeah. And I mean, I even saw within the report, Ted Cruz is speculating it will be Michelle. I've seen a lot of Michelle, but
I don't know why, because Michelle Obama has clearly stated time and time again, she has absolutely no interest in public life, in the sense that as a public servant. She did it for 8 years. She hated it. She now is hanging out with all the celebrities. She's a Hollyweird herself, right? Netflix deals, the whole 9 yards. She's richer than she's ever thought she would be in her life. And she still has the amazing power that she has playing from the sidelines. Barack Obama is already running the White House. He's running the country. She doesn't need the extra. She'd rather be the king maker than the queen maker than the queen.
Let me tell you that I think that is very much just so representative of the Democrat Party. Like, let's just say in a world where Trump tomorrow was just like, hey, I don't feel like running anymore. I'm out. Someone come step in. You got DeSantis. You even got Ted Cruz, who's really proved himself over the years. You could even make the argument of Ben Carson. Like, there would be people who you could probably get in there to take up the mantle.
Of course.
Yeah, is the Democrats' best bet, because obviously it can't be Obama, and he's the kings galore there. Is the best bet after a man ridden with dementia. Michelle Obama, like, bless you, to your point, has no interest. Gavin Newsom, who any real Californian could tell you is an awful man. Kamala Harris, who should by all means be the one taking it, and yet no one really wants her. And then Hillary Clinton, who's a proven loser. So it's like they really don't have anyone. And
I mean, no bench. They have absolutely no bench.
At this point, do you think it's just more beneficial for Trump that Joe stays in the race, and that way he could just win?
Look, Trump has really good policies, but Trump makes really bad decisions. He's like the guy who gets on he gets to the destination, but man, does he take some unnecessary off ramps on the way there. And one of the things I think he made a major mistake on was debating Biden so early, because had he waited and done it traditionally, like at the end of August and September and October, it would have been way too late to replace Joe. Now they've got enough time on the clock to where they could do some things, and Joe Biden still has more time to gaffe up, because you know it's going to happen. The next time he has a major gaffe, everybody's going to double down on the you got to get out. Now, don't be surprised. I mean, Joe Biden is looking at death through drowning or death through fire. I mean, that's really what it's like, because every step he takes, reminds you of the police song, every move you make, I'll be watching you. And so if he goes on the campaign trail, they got to make his speech as light as possible. If he goes out and does an appearance, it's got to be as light as possible. It's got to be between his hours of 10 and 4. That was a report that was also over the weekend, that the times that he shines the best are between 10 a.m. in the morning and 4 o'clock. Anytime before or after that, forget it. You get fuzzy Joe. Mm-hmm. And so, which kind of goes in line with the aging process, if you think about it. So I think that the Democrats are thankful for Trump to have this debate as early as he did. I know Obama has wanted it from the get-go. That's exactly what Obama. I'm telling you, I got this spot on with the things I've written over the last couple of weeks on my newsletter, and he's got exactly what he wants. The wagons are all rounding up, and the thing is that I don't believe Joe Biden wants to leave. I think Joe Biden is in denial about his own well-being.
Look at the circle he's got around him. You go to Camp David, and you like if obviously if you had hit a point, you would want your family to do what's best for you and saying like, hey, this is the best road forward for you. And the fact that his wife and obviously his son, for obvious reasons, and probably the rest of the family is like, no, you got to stay. I mean, he's obviously not well enough to make those cognitive decisions. So, I think what this really turned into was a backfire for the Democrats, because I think you're right. I think they wanted to use this debate to get him out of the race, but he's resistant. And the issue is there is another debate in September. So either two things are going to happen. One, it doesn't happen, and then that's going to look even awful.
Yeah.
Or two, it does happen, and just imagine how much more it could get worse in a few months' time from now until September, which is only 2.5 months until it happens, and that'll be another perfect display of what people would be voting for on November 5th.
Well, there's an old term said, out of sight, out of mind. And so I think what you'll see Biden do is sort of be quiet now. It's 4th of July. People are going to start traveling, whatever. And then the next big news cycle is going to be on July 11 when Trump is sentenced to prison. Now, I mean, assuming he gets sentenced to prison, I have every inclination to believe that Merchant is going to put him in jail. Why wouldn't he? Why is he going to go soft all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the next big, huge news cycle. Then after that, you get the RNC convention. That's going to take a lot. So if you're Joe Biden, you can really hide for a month. And so now what winds up happening is out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's thinking about Joe. Everybody's thinking about Trump, especially if he's got to do a little bit of jail time. So there is a play for Joe Biden, because he could just sit there and say, I'm staying in. You have no other choice. Now, there is an email that went out from his campaign, and it reads as if Joe Biden is staying in there. It's sort of like an apology campaign. So I'll come with it real quick. The Biden campaign sent an email to supporters outlining how they address criticisms of President Biden's debate performance. This email follows last week's first presidential debate between Biden and former President Trump, which drew widespread criticism. It reads, if you're like me, you're getting lots of texts or calls from folks about the state of the race after Thursday. Maybe it was your panicked aunt, your MAGA uncle, or some self-important podcasters. It's a tough position to be in, so I thought it might be helpful to send you a few responses. And so the email goes on to give these responses, you could say, and it says, the email encourages supporters to forcefully push back against those calling on the president to drop out of the race, accusing such critics of being part of the bedwetting brigade. The bedwetting brigade? When I think of bedwetting, I don't think of panic. I think of old people, who can't control themselves.
And actually bedwet. Yeah.
And bedwet, okay? So that's number one. I mean, just even the wording there tells you they're so out of touch.
Yes.
Another important part to bring up, a CBS News poll released on Sunday, revealed that more voters have doubts about Biden's cognitive abilities. Conducted between Friday and Saturday, the poll found that only 18% of voters felt Biden's debate performance inspired confidence, compared to 44% for Trump. And additionally, just 21% of respondents believe Biden presented his ideas clearly. Earlier in June, 35% of voters thought Biden had the mental and cognitive health to serve as president, but now it's only 27%. So, Dennis, everything right now is showing that this guy doesn't have what it takes. Everything is showing that the Democrats want him gone. They don't have a deep bench. They're going to try to pick the next best thing you possibly can. I think it hurts Trump that this is going to take place. Real quick, here's why, and then we have to get our last story and be done. Biden's performance was so bad that if the Democrats tried to cheat in 2024, the entire world would say, are you kidding me? Did you see these debates? You're going to tell me 81 million people came out and voted for that guy again? Trump is leading in every poll. We've got rappers who once hated Trump, now singing Trump that we're going to vote for Trump. He's flipping the script in every demographic. You're going to tell me, come on, man, this was stolen and 2020 was stolen. So it makes it impossible for the Democrats to steal, right? This is one of those times where they're just going to have to bite their tongue and say, we're going to have to lose this one because we don't want to reveal our secret sauce. If we pull out the secret sauce for Joe Biden 2024, we're caught. So now you turn around and you get Kamala Harris or you get Gavin Newsom, both of them train wrecks in their own regard. But all you need is some soft lighting, some favorable interviews. And before you know it, both of them are rock stars. And the polls are showing that they're leading Trump by 2 points. And it's going to go like that into it. But neither one of them get anybody at their rallies. Trump gets everybody. And then it's election night, and you wake up in the morning, and you find out that Gavin Newsom won a couple of states by 5,000 points, or Kamala Harris won. And they pulled the same shenanigan BS that they did in 2020. And the reason why they could get away with that is because they get a new, shiny, fresh face, and Joe's gone. That's one of the reasons why I believe there's such a push to get rid of him. Because if we get rid of him, we could still play our games. That's my opinion. Some people may fall on a different side and say I sound like I'm some fanatic, crazy conspiracy artist. But I'm sorry. I still can't believe that 81 million people came out of the woodwork to vote for that guy.
Look, no, I mean, I think we are in a territory where there's a reason for the theories, because where is it going to go? I mean, I've even read that it could be, to your point, Trump is sentenced to prison. Yep. Then there's no other debates to happen, because how is that supposed to play out? And that they stick with Joe. And if Joe were to win by a slim margin on November 5th, 2024, by November 5th, 2025, he would not be president. No. That he would just win. A few months later, get him out, have Kamala step in, new VP.
It's a dangerous time.
I don't know. Either they're going to play the, can we really get away with it again, or we don't care anymore. And if that's the mentality, then I get a little scared of how that would play out.
Well, one of the other things they may turn around and say is, listen, we can't win this one. We just can't win this one. Give it up. Let's just focus on keeping at least the Senate or the House, so he can't get too many things done. Give it up. We get rid of him once and for all. He can't do anything after that, right? And plus, on top of that, he'll be 82 when it's over, and we'll go back and just worry about 2028. We lost it the first time with Hillary, and look, we recovered, and we destroyed everything he did, and we were able to build what we wanted. All right, we're going to take a little step back, but we'll get it back in 2028, and then we'll hold it, and it's lights out. So that could very well be what they wound up doing. That may be the best of all their scenarios. Who knows? I don't think like a criminal, so I can't come up with that. There is a story we want to end with here, talking about how dangerous times are. There, I just had it all queued up. But there is a gang, and it is a very dangerous gang. They have moved in to New York from where it was originally in Venezuela. Ryan's going to play the report, and we're going to just show you what Joe Biden is allowing to happen at our border. Go ahead, Ryan.
The NYPD says these are suspected members of the ruthless Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which has been infiltrating the U.S. for the last 2 years. NYPD Assistant Chief of Detectives Jason Savino telling me it is believed this video was made while the gang members were in Ecuador, and its purpose is to recruit new members.
Then when you fast forward, you see the same individuals where? In Times Square. So that's our concern.
The NYPD says Tren de Aragua has been making it over the border with the migrant influx and is getting established in New York.
What we do see is they are trying to grow.
The gang has gone from petty crimes like shoplifting and stealing cell phones and jewelry to all-out shootouts in the streets. Alleged gang member Bernardo Raul Mata recently confessing to police that gang members are being instructed to shoot police officers. Mata is charged with shooting 2 officers after they stopped him for riding a moped the wrong way on a one-way street in Queens. In court, an assistant district attorney revealing what Mata told investigators about the gang.
Tren de Aragua members were smuggling firearms into city shelters inside food delivery packages. That way they don't have to go through the metal detector.
Guns being smuggled into migrant shelters in food delivery packages that are not being screened. The gang violence is escalating.
Yeah, Dennis, it's not a good time to be in New York City. And, you know, this is what it is that Joe Biden is allowing into our streets by the millions. And, you know, that there alone is a reason why nobody should vote for the guy. But, you know, people turn a blind eye to it, I guess. One of the more interesting things that we'll be covering tomorrow for certain is the Supreme Court is supposed to do something with Trump today. What exactly is that, real quick?
So today is supposed to be the day where they will make a ruling on whether Trump has immunity from criminal prosecution. This is pretty much all in relation to January 6th, which that case last week.
Right, there was a victory for a J6 criminal.
For J6, for criminals to be unjailed. So now this is the big one, which a lot of people have been waiting for. Like, does a president actually have immunity based on his actions? And could have some wide-ranging consequences. But if they rule in favor, then I think that's a big plus for Trump.
My guess on this would be that you're not going to get that. Kavanaugh and Coney Barrett continue to disappoint. And I could very easily see where they'll say, hey, listen, you know, a president cannot just walk out into the middle of the street, shoot somebody and have immunity. So they're going to definitely want to put parameters around it. And well, listen, we'll see. I've been surprised by crazier things. You never know. With that being said, we're going to wrap up here real quick again. You're listening to this on Facebook. You're listening to this on YouTube. This is the only one you're getting for the week. We go back to, you know, behind the paywall, so to say, where Team DML, where we could talk about whatever we want. We could have showed you a lot of videos today. There was a lot of other things I would have liked to discuss. There was at the end of the Pride parades in New York, there was people beating on each other and stuff. We can't show it to you on there. But if we were on Team DML, we could absolutely show it to you. So please, for $18 for an entire year, it's $1.50 a month or 30 cents every 10 days or 3 cents a day. However you want to do it. 3 cents a day. You can hand in a Coke can and pay for this. So anyway, you help us stay in business. Go to teamdml.com. That's teamdml.com. Sign up for $18 for the year. That promotion runs through July, and then it comes to a conclusion. Also, don't forget, I told you, dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Today's the last day of the BOGO. Buy one, get one free. And do not forget to download the Great American Newsletter. You don't have to download it. You download the DML News app. But the Great American Newsletter is a newsletter we put out every day, and it's just simply phenomenal. So on behalf of my son, Ryan, who you can't see, and Denny, we wish you all the greatest of a day, and we wish you all the blessings from God. And may God bless America.
And for today's Team DML blessing, I would actually like to give it to Anita Griffey. Her son, Jarrett, is getting married this week, so she's busy prepping it on her farm. So maybe everyone write in the Team DML chat just, you know, wishing her good luck. It's a big week for her.
How cool is that? Yes, Anita has been with us for, I think, now 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.